Previously on Tooterp.
Where is he? Where is he?
I'm gonna get you.
What? That's not what happened at all!
Oh, what happened then?
Well, I was sleeping in this.
After the success of the first Rockman World game, Capcom decided to attempt an infinite money glitch by releasing a sequel just like how they were doing on the NES. Except this time, for some reason, they hired a different company to develop the game, and most people were not happy with the result, including Keiji Inafune. When talking about the Rockman World series, Rockman World 2 is typically considered the bad one, and most people blame the fact that it was developed by a different company. Oh, and the music. If you haven't heard, good, but the music had a programming error in this game that made it an entire octave higher than it was supposed to be. I'm not gonna play it in this video because I don't want to injure anyone, but feel free to look it up for yourself if you're a masochist. But what do I think about this game? I just beat it for the first time, and honestly, to me, this was an improvement over the first game in almost every regard. First of all, the physics are much smoother and the controls feel a lot tighter, which was my main frustration with the last video game. The level design also makes the actual sprites for enemies and even the bosses smaller than in the original NES games, which makes everything a little bit easier. Plus, this game feels like everything does the proper amount of damage. In the last video, I said it felt like the health bar was smaller than it should be, but in this game, I didn't feel like that a single time. We also get the slide since this game combines Mega Man 2 and 3, though you cannot jump out of a slide, unfortunately, which is stupid. Another cool thing about this game is that the energy pickups do not freeze your game when you pick them up like they do in most Mega Man entries, and as a speedrunner, I appreciate this a lot more than I should. Like, it's not at all a big deal, but it's one of the many reasons I love Rockman and Forte as much as I do. Rush also makes a debut in all three classic forms. Rush Jet is even more broken than in Mega Man 3 on the NES. Rush Marine skips over every annoying water section, and Ruffles Rush Coil looks like he's in serious pain after you jump on top of him, which is pretty funny to be honest. But let's jump into the actual game. Once again, we only have 4 stages, being Metal Man, Woodman, Airman, and Crash Man. I started with Metal Man stage for no particular reason, and like I said earlier, this game immediately feels better to play than the first Rockman World game. This stage is also significantly easier, which will turn out to be a running theme. Yeah, these chandeliers can be hard to dodge, and yes, we have more dropping into spike trolls, but to me this is not a problem. Dealing with these drills did make me realize that the invincibility frames seem to be a lot shorter than in the first game, which is really the only change in the entire game that makes it more difficult as far as I'm aware. But this stage is fairly short, and while it's not a one-to-one copy of Metal Man stage on the NES, it definitely feels less original than Rockman World 1. Woodman stage is even closer to the original NES stage than Metal Man's, but once again, it's just a fun time. There is a unique underwater section, but I don't remember much about it since I just Rush Marines my way through it. Other than that, this stage really just feels like a Game Boy port. We even get to fight these are tigers, right? I think I called them dogs one time, and you guys told me they were tigers, but I don't remember. We also have the return of the iconic chicken jumping section, which never gets old, and then that's it. Once again, the stage feels really short, but maybe that's just because it's so easy. Airman stage is also a great time. Very similar to the NES once again, but it's just plain fun, so I have no complaints. Most people hate Airman's theme song and say it's an atrocity, and while I certainly see why, I don't think it's nearly as bad as everyone says it is, but just in case it is, I'm still not going to play it for you guys because I don't want to get taken to court for negligence. It is worth noting the music in this game is all original though, which is pretty cool. Since the last Rockman World game just had Game Boy ports of the NES songs, which was cool, but having a unique soundtrack is kind of special, you know? It's just a nice thing to have, I feel like, but whatever. Here we have all the iconic parts of Airman stage, from the annoying birds to the floating grandmas to the fan guys and even the weird cloud lackey twos. I actually beat both this stage and Airman without getting hit, and I have the achievements to prove it. Oh wait, I haven't talked about these achievements yet. Don't worry guys, I plan to make a video about those as soon as I get released from captivity. Lastly, we have Crash Man stage, which is about what you would expect. The level follows pretty much the same path as the original, all the way through the boring auto-scroller platforms and past the tall slinky guy. But then wait, we actually go back down? Whoa, this is some Crash Man DLC. This is actually super cool. The ladders are also expanded upon in the level design, giving you 3 ladders this time, making it feel more confusing and like a maze. But then the stage is over, and that's it. All 4 of these Robomaster stages were really fun, but I do miss the uniqueness of each level that the previous game had. That being said, so far I do prefer all of these levels to the previous game because they were a lot less frustrating and more fun. Is that just because this game is generally easier? I mean, probably yeah. But being easy is not always a bad thing, and despite feeling closer to a port than Rockman World 1, it is still a very unique experience and a lot of fun. But now it's time to take on Dr. Wily. Mega Man, what are you doing? Get him! Shoot! Shoot Dr. Wily, he's right there! Wait, we just fall into the refight? Alright, that's cool, I get. Wait a minute, we just got Mega Man 7. That's right, instead of having 4 new boss fights in this section like in the last game, we get 4 entirely new stages, meaning this teleporter area functions more like a stage select screen than an actual refight arena, just like how Mega Man 7 does it. I guess that's why you guys corrected me every time I said Mega Man started this trend. But you know what, I'm not apologizing, I still don't know why Mega Man 7 did that, but we'll talk about that in the future. In this game, we get to see Needle Man, Magnet Man, Hard Man, and Top Man make an appearance along with their stages. And since the last game only had 6 total stages, this means we're already getting more content, even though technically maybe this is considered to be one long stage. Since it is through the refight teleporters, I don't know, that's stupid. Anyway, Needle Man stage is great. We get a lot of the same things as the original NES level, but we also get a lot of new and remix sections, which I enjoy a lot. I would say this feels like a ROM hack almost, but like more official, but that feels like a stupid thing to say. It is a lot of fun though, and while some rooms are literal copies from the NES, the majority of this stage feels like Needle Man DLC, which I had a great time with. Next up, I went to Magnet Man stage, which has almost an identical start to the NES game, but then starts to get more unique. I don't want to just keep saying the same thing over and over, but once again, it's just a remixed version of Magnet Man stage on the NES. They didn't come up with any new mechanics or gimmicks, but they rearranged the ones that already existed in a way that makes the stage still feel unique and fun. Plus, again, some of those rooms are exact copies, which I do kind of appreciate. Also, I actually think those magnet things that are in the walls are used better here than on the NES. They're more annoying on the NES, but I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Hard Man stage is a lot closer to an exact copy though. In fact, I think this is the closest thing to an exact copy we've seen in this game since Woodman stage. We even get the starting room with the bees, but luckily this time Tizzy is not here to ask if I like jazz. Despite being pretty similar to the original stage, there are still some extra things added, but it's mostly just to give you E-tanks and 1-ups, which would really have come in handy last game, but this time it just feels excessive. Like, I'd say Hard Man stage on the Game Boy is easier than a stage on the NES, which is crazy, but that's just how Rockman World 2 has been feeling so far. Shorter and easier versions of each stage with a few new DLC remix sections added. But again, it is still fun, so don't take that the wrong way. Top Man stage is a fun time, but for some reason there's an underwater section with a block puzzle. I'm not sure why you would do this since you have Rush Marine guaranteed at this point, but it's certainly an interesting decision. Fighting Garfield is the first time I really noticed the sprites were designed to be smaller because he's really small in this game. Like, Mega Man is normal size, which is why the game feels zoomed in, but I guess to compensate for the difficulty of the last game, they made everything else a little bit smaller this time, and Garfield is not looking so good. Also, these top shooters look a lot cuter than normal for some reason. It's probably the sprite. I don't know why I said some reason. It's probably the sprite thing that I just said. Anyway, the stage is fun. It's about what you would expect at this point. But speaking of things being smaller, the bosses are also smaller, like I said at the beginning of the video, which makes them way easier. In the first game, it was pretty difficult to jump over Quickman, for example, like when he runs under you since you don't jump as high as you would on the NES. But since the bosses in this game are smaller, even though it's just by a little bit, it feels a lot easier to dodge their attacks. That being said, the bosses also feel like they were programmed better in this game. In Rockman World, they did a lot of just flopping around near you. At least that's what Electman and Cutman did. But in this game, they feel more refined, which also might contribute to them being easier. Speaking of being easier, we have Quint, who's even easier than Inker. Now, I can't read, but apparently this guy is Mega Man from the future, and he's on a pogo stick? You know what, honestly, that's kinda cool, and it's extra cool since he's wearing sunglasses. But being cool can only get you so far, because this fight is stupid easy. Well, at least easy gameplay-wise. It's not super easy to process the fact that you murdered the future version of Mega Man. This might have just single-handedly debunked one of my myths in my Mega Man Mythbusters video. But now that Quint has been defeated, Dr. Wily flies to space, and we follow him in our Rush spaceship. I don't remember unlocking that. And then we get led into the skull entrance like the Super Mario Bros. 2 bird at the end of each level. You guys remember that bird thing? I don't know why it made me think of that, but they're similar, right? This is the only Dr. Wily stage in the game, and it's covered in clocks and acts like a maze since Dr. Wily time traveled. At least that's why I think it's covered in clocks. Maybe space-time zones are just weird. But this stage is actually pretty short and straightforward. After the clocks, we get a small medley of all the previous stages we've already beaten, and then it's straight to Dr. Wily. And man, he's extra tiny. A lot of people complain about how he looks in this game, but I think it's just more funny than stupid, so I don't mind. Plus, the boss fight is actually pretty fun. If anything, it's just too easy. You shoot Dr. Wily, he gets up and enters his stage 2 machine. You shoot him again, he enters a stage 3 machine, and then you beat him. Except this time when he tries to escape, you literally shoot him down with a missile and he crash lands into a planet and explodes and also dies. You see that skull right there? That means he died. The game just ends after that. But this time, instead of getting derp faces in the credits, we learn that Woodman's chicken's name is is cook. And that's kind of funny, right? I guess what they say is true. Anyone can cook. Anyway, I had a great time with this game. It was definitely a little bit too easy, but honestly, that's refreshing after the first entry on the Game Boy, and it was still fun the entire way through. I would actually be interested in playing this game again since it took me less than 40 minutes to beat it the first time. Like, it's a shame that the levels weren't as unique as the first game, but I still think that's made up for by the fact that the physics are so much better on top of getting more stages for the extra robot masters. So while it feels like there's nothing super special to write home about with this game on account of most of the levels being very similar to the NES, I still think it's a great game, especially for the Game Boy, and it's certainly worth playing if you are a Mega Man fan. I'd probably give this one an 8.5 out of 10 in today's standards, so for back then, adjusting for inflation, that's almost a 10. Wait, why do people hate this game aside from the music? Seriously, I want to know. Please tell me in the comments. I know everyone hates this game, but why? This one was pretty good.
Do the thing!
Alright, fine, I'll just... Why?
The easiest boss in this game is Quint. The hardest boss in this game is Crashman, even though he's still pretty easy. The best boss in this game is Airman. The worst boss in this game is Woodman. The ugliest boss in this game is Woodman. The prettiest boss in this game is Metalman. The stupidest boss in this game is Quint. The weakest boss in this game is Woodman. The most powerful boss in this game is Crashman. The easiest level in this game is Hardman stage. The hardest level in this game is Metalman stage. The best level in this game is Airman stage. The worst level in this game is Woodman stage. The stupidest level in this game is the teleporter level, since I don't know if that even counts. The ugliest level from this game is Crashman stage. The prettiest level from this game is Airman stage. The best weapon from this game is Metal Blade. The worst weapon from this game is the pogo stick you get from Quint. The stupidest weapon from this game is also the pogo stick you get from Quint. The stupidest spike is the one you fall onto in Metal Man stage. The stupidest jump is the one to get the one up in Metal Man stage. The stupidest hole is just the entire bottom of Airman stage, and there are once again no castle bosses, so I guess Quint wins all of those categories by default, which is the best way to win. Anyway, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Since this was just a sequel to the original game and didn't really add a ton of unique things, I tried to keep this review short and sweet, but I also did that so that I could be released from captivity sooner.